The first day of January had always been a quiet ritual for Amina, a moment in the year when she sat alone on the balcony with a warm shawl over her shoulders and watched the old world bleed into the new one with hesitant sunlight. But this year the morning felt different, sharper, heavier, as though the air itself carried the memory of last night's revelation like an unresolved whisper that refused to settle. She had confronted the idea, but not the man. She had stared at her husband's hidden messages, the receipts tucked away behind his socks, the strange, overly polite excuses he had thrown at her during the past 2 months, and yet she had said nothing, not even when he came home late after the countdown party, smelling faintly like someone else's perfume, a scent too soft and floral to belong to any place he had claimed to be. Daniel had slept beside her with the peaceful arrogance of a man who believed his lies were invisible, while she had remained awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing the echo of her own heartbeat asking again and again what a woman was supposed to do when her marriage began to deteriorate quietly, not with shouting or chaos but with subtle distance and the slow erosion of trust. She spent that morning trying to breathe normally, reminding herself that she wasn't weak, that she wasn't foolish, that she had not imagined the signs. Everything was pointing to the truth she feared most. When Daniel finally woke up, stretching like a man satisfied with himself, she had forced a smile, pretending she hadn't noticed how he avoided eye contact. He mentioned a new business meeting he had to attend that afternoon, another carefully crafted excuse she was supposed to accept. Amina simply nodded, her expression neutral but her chest tightening as she observed every micro-expression he tried to hide. She watched him dress in a hurry, watched him check his phone more often than usual, watched him delete messages while pretending to answer emails. And in that moment, something within her shifted, not a sudden explosion, not anger, but something colder, more decisive, like a door in her heart quietly locking itself. She wasn't going to accuse him blindly, and she wasn't going to crumble like he expected. She wanted proof, not for revenge, but to reclaim clarity, to stand on solid ground again. So after Daniel left, she showered, dressed simply in jeans and a sweater, tied her hair back, and sat down with her diary, the one place where she allowed herself to spill thoughts too sharp to say out loud. The pages became her refuge as she wrote down every detail from the past 2 months, mapping the patterns she had ignored. It was almost painful to see how the clues aligned perfectly when written in ink. At noon, she decided she couldn't stay home suffocating beneath the weight of assumptions. She grabbed her bag and drove to her friend Zara's apartment, the only person she trusted enough to share the truth with. Zara opened the door with her usual warmth, instantly sensing the heaviness in Amina's expression. Over cups of chai, Amina finally voiced the fear she had been swallowing. "I think Daniel is cheating on me." Saying those words shattered something inside her, yet at the same time released the pressure that had been squeezing her chest for weeks. Zara listened quietly, her eyes filled with concern, asking questions softly and offering comfort without forcing advice. "You need to know the truth," she said gently. "Not because of him, but because of your peace." Together, they discussed what Amina should do, whether to confront him, whether to hire help, whether to ignore it and hope things would return to normal. But Amina knew ignoring wasn't an option anymore. Silence had already cost her enough. When she returned home later that afternoon, she found the house too quiet, too sterile, as though even the walls were withholding something. She paced around the living room, her thoughts restless. Should she wait for him to hang himself with his own lies? Should she confront him head-on? But confrontation meant emotion, and right now emotion endangered her clarity. She needed strength, not tears. So instead she chose observation, calculated, calm, strategic. Over the next hours, she noticed how Daniel's messages continued to light up his phone, how he kept his device face down whenever he was around her, how he smiled subtly at notifications as though they carried affection he no longer found at home. During dinner, she asked simple questions. "How was your meeting? Who was there? Did anything interesting happen today?" Each answer he provided sounded rehearsed, stitched together like a script, lacking detail and sincerity. And although Amina smiled politely, inside she catalogued every lie, every inconsistency. Her heart ached, but her mind sharpened. Later that night, when Daniel fell asleep, she quietly stepped out to the living room to think. She didn't want to break down in the bedroom they had once shared with laughter and soft unspoken promises. She sat on the sofa, hugging her knees, allowing herself to feel the full weight of betrayal, not the kind caused by a dramatic confession, but the kind caused by silence, distance, and broken trust. It was scarier, heavier. She wondered what had changed in him. Was it boredom? Was it dissatisfaction? Was it thrill? Or had he simply grown tired of her? That was the part that cut deepest. Not the possibility of another woman, but the thought that the man she had loved for years might have stopped valuing her. As the clock crept past midnight, she made a decision. She would follow the truth wherever it led, even if it shattered the last remnants of her illusions. She wasn't going to live in denial anymore. The following morning, she woke up before him again, quietly preparing for the emotional storm that would inevitably arrive. She packed a small bag with essentials, not to leave the house permanently, but to give herself the option to walk away if the confrontation became unbearable. She didn't want to stay trapped in a conversation that might drown her. Daniel woke up late, yawning casually, unaware that the air in the house had shifted. He kissed her cheek briefly, the kind of brief peck that lacked warmth, and said he had another meeting, leaving in a hurry as usual. But Amina didn't cry this time. Instead, she followed him discreetly, keeping her distance while her hands trembled slightly on the steering wheel. She wasn't naturally suspicious by nature, and the act of following her own husband felt surreal, like a painful dream she couldn't wake from. She watched him turn onto a road far from any office he claimed to visit. Her breath hitched. He stopped near a cafe she didn't recognize. Amina parked a good distance away, her heartbeat echoing in her ears as she watched from inside her car. Moments later, she saw her, a woman around her age, dressed elegantly, walking toward the cafe with a confident stride. Daniel stood up to greet her. They hugged, not politely, but intimately, like people who had shared secrets recently. Amina felt a sting so sharp it momentarily took her breath away. Her hands shook as she clutched the steering wheel even tighter. She didn't cry, not yet. She simply watched, absorbing every gesture, every smile, every piece of proof she needed. After a few minutes, she drove away slowly. She had seen enough. The truth had arrived, colder and clearer than she ever wanted it to be. Her heart ached, but her mind settled into an unexpected calmness, the kind that comes after a storm destroys everything and there is nothing left to fear. When she returned home, she sat quietly on the sofa for a long time. She didn't scream, didn't break anything, didn't call anyone. She simply breathed. Then she stood up, took out a fresh page from her diary, and began writing, not about the betrayal itself, but about her next steps, about boundaries, about self-worth, about reclaiming the life she had allowed to shrink under the weight of someone else's decisions. By the time Daniel came home that evening, she was ready, not for a fight, but for truth. He walked in with the same casual confidence, kissed her forehead like nothing was wrong, and asked what she had been up to. Amina looked at him calmly, and for the first time in months, she felt no fear. No hesitation, no confusion, just clarity. "We need to talk," she said softly. And the moment the words left her lips, she saw it, the flicker of panic in his eyes, the first crack in his carefully built facade. That crack was enough to tell her that the next chapter of their lives would not be easy, but it would be honest, no matter how painful honesty might be. He thought his secrets were safe. He thought she would never find out. But on the first morning of the new year, Amina uncovered the truth that would destroy the illusion of her marriage, and now nothing will remain the same. If you want to read stories that grip the heart, twist the mind, and reveal the raw reality of relationships, make sure to subscribe now so you never miss the next chapter.